Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy. If you're looking to expand your pool service or get support out in the field, or if you just want one-on-one coaching, join my coaching program with over 270 members and growing. Learn more at poolguycoaching.com.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hey, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to answer some of your YouTube questions, and there are a few in this one that are a little humorous. I think you're going to get a kick out of it, and I think you're going to also enjoy kind of me expanding on some of the comments I receive on YouTube. I find that a lot of people find these helpful podcasts, these question and answer podcasts. If you're looking to expand your pool service or get support out in the field, or if you just want one-on-one coaching, join my coaching program with over 270 members and growing. Learn more at poolguycoaching.com. So the first question or comment comes from someone watching the Piptide Vacuum video that I did. I did a review on the Piptide SL cleaner. And this was a comment that says, "Disappointed this video didn't show where to connect the actual hose." I found this to be pretty funny because if you're not familiar with vacuum systems, they don't really have a pool hose. So he was watching the video, and I guess he saw me put the Piptide in and saw me turn it on, but he was like, "Hey, where's the hose for this thing?" And this is kind of one of those things where if you're in the industry, if you're just starting, or if you're a homeowner looking for a vacuum system, and by the way, I really highly recommend a vacuum system for the homeowners that have heavy debris pools. If you have trees everywhere and you're doing the pool yourself, buying a vacuum system for $1,000 or $1,200 is definitely smart, and it's going to save you a lot of headache. But the way the vacuum system works, like the Piptide, there are no pool hoses. That's what makes it great and convenient. And the Piptide, Hammerhead, bottom feeder are all designed to pick up large leaf debris. There's actually a bag on top. Now, these bags are rated with different microns. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but basically you have a fine micron. I believe the finest micron that you would want to use would be 60 microns, and they have all the way to 400 microns. So the particles will pass through based on the microns of the particles. You can look at these bags on their sites to see the different microns. But all the debris is actually trapped in the bags. The only thing it fails to capture well is really fine dust. So anything smaller than 60 microns is going to go through the bag and back into the pool. Now, Piptide does have a 25 micron bag, but that's only for polishing and, spot vacuuming. I wouldn't recommend that as an everyday use bag, but 60 microns is fine. The sweet spot is 75 microns in my opinion. It gets just enough dirt and the leaf debris, and if you have a suction side cleaner, it'll pick up the rest of the dirt that's left behind. Of course, I messaged back to this person saying, "Oh, this is a vacuum system, there are no hoses," and I kind of just explained that to him briefly. But for listeners here, if you are doing pool service and you're looking for a way to speed up your day, pick up large leaf debris, qualify that part of your service agreement where it says you vacuum every pool, the vacuum system is a way to go. I like the Piptide SL, of course, that's my preferred large vacuum system. And then for a smaller, more portable vacuum system, I love the bottom feeder. So those are my two go-to vacuum systems. So yes, there are no hoses. I didn't show the hose connection in the video. This one here is, "Hello, I'm a school teacher. Is this something that I can do after school hours in the afternoon on Saturdays? Say about 30 accounts." This was posted on an interview with Scott Roberts with National Pool Route Sales. And this person is asking, they have a full-time job. They're probably going to get out, I would say, if you're a school teacher, probably 3:30. Can you do this in the afternoons? And my answer to them was maybe. And the reason why I say this is there's a lot of problems with kind of doing a full-time job Monday through Friday and trying to do the pool service route. There's problems with the elements. So normally when we do pool service, if it's a 100-degree day, you're starting at 6:30 in the morning and you're gradually getting used to the heat. Of course, if you're in Arizona, it's 100 degrees in the morning, so you kind of live with that. It's 100 degrees, 110 degrees, 120 degrees during the day. So there's not much adjusting because nothing really changed much day and night. But in Southern California, of course, there are certain days where you get out there and it's already 90 degrees at 6:30 in the morning. Not very often in my area, but usually it starts at about 70 degrees. So you can kind of work your way up to the 100-degree day and hopefully finish by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at the latest to get out of the peak of the heat. And that's why you start early in the morning. You can't do that if you have a full-time job where you're working until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you'll get out of work and you're going to go right into the peak of the heat. This is not easy to do. And there are many people that I know that do this and they don't last very long because it's a big struggle. And you're kind of dreading getting out of your full-time job and going out there in the heat to do this, or really cold weather. So this is a factor that you must think about if you're thinking about adding pools to a full-time job. And then Saturday is not the best service day because everyone is home and you're going to run into customers, they're going to chat with you, it's going to slow you down. People don't generally like you back there on Saturday anyway because that's the day they're using their pool or using their yard or in the backyard or walking around their house in their pajamas. It's not something that they want you to be there on a day where they're off. So Saturday usually is not a good service day. So to answer the question, I don't think that's possible. However, there is a solution that I can offer, and that is if you are in an area like Southern California, Los Angeles County, and particularly where you can share your teaching duties. This is something that a lot of people do. So you work 3 days a week, someone works 2 days a week, and on those 2 days when you have another teacher in your class, you would go out and do those pools on those 2 days. That's perfectly fine. You can do 30 pools. You can knock those out. Of course, the reason why you probably don't want to do that is because you're not full-time and you lose some of those benefits or the teaching, the money coming in from that job. But if you have a job that's maybe not a teacher, where you can go 4 days or 3 days, then you can do 1 day of the pools. And I think you need a dedicated day for pool service, in my opinion. So if you can do 2 days, you can do probably 30 pools in 2 days, no problem. So if you work a job where you can maybe work Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then have Thursday and Friday, that gives you 1 day off only, but you're building a route and you're kind of building extra income. You have to make that sacrifice. I think that's the best way to do it. I wouldn't recommend doing pool service after your full-time job, especially if you don't get off in a timely manner. Now, if you get off at 1 o'clock, it's maybe doable, but then you may have problems on your pool route and have to go back and fix things. And that may be a problem if you have all those days booked up during the week and you're doing this part-time. Here's someone who wants to build a portable pump. They have a 220 volt pump they'd like to convert to a plug-in. Is that possible? The goal is to make a portable vacuum pump for their pool. Now a portable pump is a great device to have for a homeowner and for pool service, especially if you're in a dirt area or desert community where you get a lot of dirt in the pool. It's a great way to vacuum the pool, bypassing the system. And a lot of areas like mine don't have sand filters or D filters with the waste mode on a multi-port valve. If you have a cartridge filter and you're in a dirt area, or if you have a D filter without the multi-port valve with a push-pull piston, you're going to need some way to vacuum that dirt out and bypass the filter. The best way is with a portable pump. Basically, it's just a pump and motor with a pool hose connected in front, a pool hose connected to the discharge on top. All that water goes to the waste, and you're able to vacuum the pool and get all the dirt out without it going into the filter. Now, here's the problem, and I'm not an electrician, but I do know that a 220 volt, 1.5 or 2 horsepower pump and motor is too much for a 115 volt outlet, because if you know anything about electricity, and this is very basic, a 220 volt will have a double breaker. A 115 volt or 120 volt, 110 volt, however you want to phrase it. It's weird how there's just no consistent way of saying the voltage either in the electronic kind of industry. A lot of people say 230 volts, some say 220 to 240 volts, some say 115 or 120 volts, but I'm just saying that a 220 volt breaker is a double breaker and a 110 volt breaker is a single breaker. So basically, if you had a 220 volt pump and you wired it, which you can't do anyway because the wiring's different, then the 220 volt has 2 hot wires and the 110 has 1 hot wire. You couldn't do it anyway, but if you were to wire it, it would overload and trip the GFCI. So the only way to build a portable cleanup pump on your own is with a 1 horsepower or less single speed pump. Again, 1 horsepower or less single speed pump, because those are wired for a 110 volt plug. And it's also convenient to buy one with a plug already. So you can maybe look for an above ground pool pump with a plug already, or a 1 horsepower pump that you can convert that conduit or cord to a plug-in cord. You could use an extension cord, or you can get a cord at Home Depot, but you can't do anything that's over 110 volts, which is any horsepower. Generally over 1 horsepower would disqualify that pump. Now, Advantage Manufacturing, interesting, has a cleanup pump. If you go to their site, Advantage Manufacturing, you can see their pumps and portable pumps. They do have a cleanup pump that is a 1.5 horsepower, and they do this by modulating the amps. I believe I don't know how they do it exactly. I probably should ask them, but I believe it's the impeller is a lower horsepower impeller, and that way the amps on the pump don't really get too high and trip the breaker. So you can modify it if you know what you're doing, but in most cases, 1 horsepower or less is what you're looking at for a cleanup pump. Anything larger than that will not work. Here's another question or comment. This was on the Aquanaut 4-wheel cleaner. It says, "This is the worst designed pool vacuum. All my vac does is fall over on its side. All the other pool vacs are very low profile, so they don't have to worry about it falling over 95% of the time. I would never recommend this horrible vac and never buy it again." Now, the problem is not necessarily the design of the Aquanaut. However, I really do think that if you are going to get this particular cleaner, the Aquanaut or the Phoenix, the 4-wheel model in particular, I really prefer the Hayward pool cleaner. Now, these are all the same cleaner. The Hayward pool cleaner, Hayward Aquanaut, Hayward Phoenix, they just have a different shell on there, and they're different retail or outlets. Like, for instance, the Phoenix is a Leslie's exclusive, the Aquanaut is sold online, and then the pool cleaner is also sold online in retail stores. But I really think the pool cleaner body is a little bit more balanced than the Aquanaut. The Aquanaut has a handle, making it a little more unbalanced in my opinion. That's why the original designer of the Pool Vernugan did not put a handle on the back of it, the grip, because it does affect the balance of the cleaner. With that said, the Aquanaut is not an unbalanced cleaner. It's probably 2 things causing it to turn over on its side. And if you have these on your pool route, you've seen this happen. Number 1, the float is just not set in the right spot. So I would lower the float down so that the cleaner doesn't tip over on its side. And number 2, I would definitely add 1 or 2 extra hose lengths to whatever you have it connected at. Because what's probably happening is that it's getting to a slope area or a corner, and then there's not enough hose, and so it's kind of turning over, and what happens is it doesn't really have the ability to navigate that curve in the pool, and that is why this particular cleaner is turning on its side. Now, once it gets on the side, it just won't right itself because it's not designed to be on its side. There's no way for it to kind of get back on its front wheels and back wheels again, and so you have to manually go out there and put it back on the bottom, or right side up, however you want to describe it. You kind of know what I'm saying. And basically, it may hit the step area and kind of bounce back and stand back up, but adding hose sections will solve that problem. Again, it's not an unbalanced cleaner. It's just that it may lose its balance if you don't have enough hose, so it can make those turns properly, and the float may be in the wrong location. But that's how you solve that problem in most cases. Here's another one that I think is a good one to end with, and this is a Pool Pro, and this is on a podcast I put on YouTube. And by the way, all my podcasts are now going up on YouTube, so you can leave comments there, which I really like. If you wanted to comment on a podcast, go to YouTube and you'll find the podcast posted there as well. And this is one where I did a podcast on pool accounts you don't want to take. And he writes here, "I'm trying to gain my worth in my old customers that I put my time in, and they know I go above and beyond, bringing in trash cans, pulling weeds, etc. But now I'm trying to hone my route and not be Mr. Nice Guy, pressing people to get stuff fixed. Now when I hear I should just fill the pool in, I'm starting to feel you don't care about your pool. Why should I? I'm now learning all money isn't good money." And this is something that you learn as you kind of get out of those rookie years. And it's okay to be very conscientious of the pool service accounts. I think that's good business practice, and it's always going to get you more and more accounts and make the customers happy. But there is a limit to being conscientious about their pool. And I wrote back saying that another way to look at this is to have the attitude that the pool is not that important to the customer. And what I mean by that is that the customer is not focused on their pool as much as you are. You're there making sure that it's clean and you're getting paid for that. And so, of course, you're hyper focused on it because that's your income. But they're not really that concerned about it. They're more concerned about paying their mortgage, their car trouble, problems with the kids, their scheduling. A lot of them won't even go in the backyard that week because they're just too busy. They're not looking at their pool. They really don't care. They just want to make sure it's not going to turn green or have algae. And they're happy to pay you to make sure the pool doesn't turn into a swamp. And that's the extent of how much they care about their pool. And this is, of course, a scale. Some customers care more than others. Some don't care at all. They regret having the pool. As the comment states, they want to fill it in with dirt. But in most cases, they don't really care about the pool as much as you think they do. So this doesn't mean that you're going to cut corners and be lazy and not do the pool correctly. This means that there may be some grace in there built in to where you don't have to have the pool perfect every week. If you're busy, if you're rushing, if you're doing the filter cleanings that week, you may not have the pool at 100%, and that's perfectly fine. The customer doesn't really look at the pool as much as you look at the pool. In fact, the only person that may look at that pool that week is you or the landscapers when they're back there. So it's one of those things where don't overthink it, don't overdo it. The pool really is not the center of someone's life. Now, if it's a brand new pool, of course, and they just had it built and spent $100,000 on it, that's going to be the center of their life for a few months or at least that season. So yes, there are some exceptions, but there's a point where you have to realize that you care more about the pool in a lot of cases, more about the pool than the customer cares about the pool. Looking for other podcasts that I have recorded, you can find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. Just click on the podcast icon. That'll take you to a drop-down menu of 1,500 podcasts to listen to. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. Real quick, if you're not using pool service software, try Skimmer free for 30 days at getskimmer.com/poolguy. Again, that's getskimmer.com/poolguy. Skimmer, everything you need to run your pool service business all in one app. Real quick, if you're not using pool service software, try Skimmer free for 30 days at getskimmer.com/poolguy. Again, that's getskimmer.com/poolguy. Skimmer, everything you need to run your pool service business all in one app. Real quick, if you're not using pool service software, try Skimmer free for 30 days at getskimmer.com/poolguy. Again, that's getskimmer.com/poolguy. Skimmer, everything you need to run your pool service business all in one app.